And it's 3 minutes past 5. Polls have just ended. This is your election headquarters. We're just about going across the country to bring you the very latest as polls close in many of the constituencies that were voting in early voting today. 284 polling stations are closing their doors in the last, have closed their doors in the last 3 minutes or so as we begin the process of wrapping up today. This has been your special coverage on your election headquarters on Joy 99.7 FM, also on the Joy News channel. Right now, we are just now going to go around the country to bring you the reactions and the very latest from our correspondents at the many polling stations where they've been monitoring this special voting. It's been a day of hiccups, a day of challenges, forcing the Electoral Commission to admit that it has a significant challenge on its hand, issuing a statement saying that the security personnel who were caught up in the process and names can be found should stay calm. It follows threats by some of the officers who say they will not be deployed. They will not allow themselves to be deployed unless they are given an opportunity to vote. The Electoral Commission says they are putting in place appropriate measures to ensure that they vote. But it is a race against time because a lot of the security agents will be deployed in the next 24 hours. Whatever the EC must do, they must do it now. This is a crucial time, and we'll be watching what the EC says. Again, in this hour, we're going to be speaking to the Electoral Commission, giving us a bit more explanation on why they put this statement out, filling us in on how exactly they are going to ensure that those who could not find their names on the list get a vote. The Electoral Commission will be speaking to us. Also speaking to us this hour will be the representatives of the political parties, the NPP, the NDC, the PNC, the CPP. We'll be hearing from them also in this hour. Plus, our correspondents will join us from the various polling stations with the Electoral Commission officers on the ground. Later on, after 5:30, we will switch to hear also from what happened today early when the EC met with the presidential candidates of the various political parties at Mervyn Pig, bringing you analysis and excerpts from that very important event where all the presidential candidates, including President John Dramani Mahama and Dankwa Akufo-Addo, signed a document committing to peace and respecting the outcome of the polls. This is where you need to be as we build up with all the reactions now the polls have closed. Your election headquarters, stay with us. And we start now from Adentan constituency. Jennifer is there with us for us tonight as polls close. Jennifer, it's what, 6 after 5 of polls closed where you are?
No, actually, the polling center has not closed yet. But what's happened is there's a security man right at after the last person in the queue. So when she has finished voting, there will be nobody else who will be allowed to vote. It's very orderly here at Adentan. After the earlier incidences where some were turned away, they could not vote because their names are not on the register over here, things really settled down nicely. There were also a little bit of confusion with the queues. You know, they divided themselves because they were all in the sun. Some went to stand in the shade, and when they had to join back to the queue, there was a little bit of a confusion over there. But that was also resolved in good time. So right now, it's as if they're doing a mopping up exercise. We can also get the latest update from one of the election officers here, Jude Odoy, can give us the latest on what's happening here at Adentan.
Hello, Jude.
I'm coming. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So at the moment, Jude is counting the last set of ballot papers.
We are talking about, we've crossed over 500 for now, and we're still voting. So the last person votes, then we end the voting. Yeah.
So how would you rate today's voting exercise?
Very successful. Very successful.
So what about those who are not able to vote today, the EC officers who had to go because their names are not on the register here, as well as the police officers?
They have to go to different centers, and we hope they would also vote.
All right.
Thank you.
Hello, Jennifer.
So you heard Jude Odoy there. He's one of the electoral officers right now. As he mentioned, they're doing really the last set of voters here at the Adentang polling
Jennifer,
station.
quick one. Can we find out from him if they've had, or he himself, if they've had any communication from the Electoral Commission headquarters about those who could not find their names on the list? I don't know if there's a way of finding that out from him if it's close to you, because that is important, because it's been one of the key points of tension today since morning.
Sorry, hello, Evans.
I don't know. I'm asking if it's possible to find out from him if they've had any communications from the Electoral Commission headquarters about what to do with those who could not find their names on the list. Okay, we'll try and sort that out. We'll be going across the country also to get the reaction from our correspondents in other parts of the country. Komla Dom is joining us, I think, from Dom Kwabenya. Hello, Komla. Hello, Komla. Hello, Komla.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, Komla. What can you report?
Yeah,
have
hello,
polls closed where you are?
Hello.
Have polls closed where you are? Okay.
Hello.
Komla, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear, but speak a bit louder.
I am shouting, in fact.
Okay.
Have polls closed where you are?
Domi Kwabenya constituency.
Yes. Okay. Let's rectify that. He can't hear me, obviously, and I'm screaming already. I can't raise my voice anymore as far as this is concerned. We'll try and rectify that, because we're going across the country to get you the reactions. Elting, it's obvious now the polls have ended.
It is.
Those in the queue will still get to vote, because that's what the rule says.
Yeah, that's what until the last person
is voted. If you're in the queue before 5, you will get to vote. But it's been a difficult day for the Electoral Commission.
Yes.
And a problem they created for themselves, essentially.
Yes, together with the stakeholders. But I mean, and if you should go through the text messages we are receiving from across the country from people who went to vote but could not do so because of one issue or the other, I mean, it's become a very confusing, situation we are dealing with. For example, this person says, I'm a police officer who traveled from Kumasi to Bolgatanga just to vote, but couldn't find my name in a special votes list. In fact, I'm not happy with the attitude of the Electoral Commission. And I'm getting all sort of text messages from people with similar stories to tell. And unfortunately, we are still waiting to hear from the Electoral Commission how they intend to move this issue forward now that it's gone beyond 5 p.m. and technically nobody can be issued with a ballot paper to go and vote, except if you are in line to go through the voting process.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we're expecting to hear in this hour. Speak to the Electoral Commission, get them to fill in the blank spaces in the statement they issued earlier. There's only one important question. A lot of the people who've been left in the cold today because their names are on the list want an answer to, which is, when will you
have the opportunity to vote?
Have the opportunity to vote.
Is it going to be today, tomorrow?
Yes.
On the 7th of December, and I'm looking at a repetition of what happened in 2012 when we had this verification.
Hold on. Let's go to Tamale Central. Hashmin Mohammed is on the line. Hello, Hashmin.
Ivan.
Yes, Hashmin, you reported earlier, and in fact spoke to some of the security officers who told you that they were threatening to boycott election day duties if they're not allowed to vote. Now polls have ended 12 minutes into it. Has that been resolved? What are the EC officers they're telling you? And what sort of atmosphere pervades at the area where you are now that we know that the polls have closed?
Well, Evans, the EC officials here wouldn't speak to the issue. According to them, any communication with regards to today's exercise should come from their head office in Accra. But a lot of the security officers have not been able to vote. Their leadership met them, and they have assured them that measures are being put in place to ensure that they are able to vote before the Wednesday national exercise.
I see. But have polls closed where you are?
Well, some people are still voting, and a line has been formed to the last person. And as soon as the last person votes, polls will close at the Tamale Central.
Okay. Now, we heard earlier from where you are that some of the officers there were threatening, saying that they will not, allow themselves to be posted and deployed unless you're allowed to vote. And from what you're saying, clearly, this statement that was issued by the Electoral Commission now 2 hours ago has still not trickled down to them.
Yes, that information has still not trickled down to them. They are still angry at the base because the polling station, the Tamale Central polling station, is stationed at the regional police headquarters. And this is where a lot of these security officers have come from far and near to vote. Those who happen to be in the Tamale Central constituency. For them, they see it as a very important national exercise to which they must vote to determine who will take their civil liberties going into 2017.
Hashmi, thank you very much. Hashmi reporting from Tamale. We'll be going live to other parts of the country right now. Correspondents are standing by. We have correspondents in every part of the country, and we'll be bringing you that quickly. I still have with me Elton in the studio. Elton, a key thing to touch on in Tamale, Hashmi just mentioned that the top hierarchy of the security forces have met their members and assured them that something will be done and given the opportunity to register. But that is coming from
the security officers. because the fact of the matter is that the EC has absolute protection in the 1992 Constitution. There's no way somebody can influence the work of the Electoral Commission. Yeah. In this very circumstances, it's only the EC that can roll out a program to ensure that people who are unable to vote today are given the opportunity in their own scheme of things. We know that they are working with the timetable. That the next line of action will be what? The holding of the general election. Yesterday at the news conference, what they told us was that they've deployed all electoral materials to all the 29,000 polling centers. What is left is the deployment of the declaration form. That's the pinch. That's the only thing left for the EC to do. They have it in Accra. They are hoping that by this weekend or Monday, they will send it to all the 29,000 polling centers. That's the only thing left for them to do. What they will then be waiting for is to hold the elections on December 7, 2016. Now, what is happening presents another challenge for them to deal with, because we are yet to be told how many people voted out of the 127,000 that are eligible for today's special exercise, and then we will know what the plan of action will be. If you are going to allow them to vote again, that will also be another cost. Because you are working with a tight budget already. We know that what they requested from government, they didn't get all of them. So if you say that because people were not able to vote because of your own creation, you are going to allow them to vote tomorrow or the next day. I told you earlier that a police officer told me that they've been asked to report at their various depots on Saturday for deployment to all the regional capitals. What is the level of collaboration between them and the military or the police top hierarchy to address this particular issue? Are they going to now say that those who are unable to vote, go to where you registered originally, vote there, and then work as a security officer on that particular day? That will also be an option the police can explore. And
we've heard from the NDC already. We'll be hearing in this hour from the MPP and the other political parties as well. The NDC says clearly, and this is some of the Director of Elections, saying clearly that they are going to protest against what is happening with the special voting, with the many names that cannot be found on the list and have been turned away. The NDC's position is that many people are being disenfranchised or have been disenfranchised already. Because of that particular challenge, and it boils down to the EC's inability to communicate in a timely fashion the exact modalities governing this, and because there was a switch in approach almost 24 hours to the date, which
just 2 days ago,
which is that if you go to vote, then you have to go to your constituency.
Absolutely.
To vote. When the list had come from the top hierarchy, a composite list that says let them vote in where they are currently resident, which is if it's a barracks or a police, residential enclave, let them vote there. But then the EC changed its mind, and then the communication became a challenge.
Yes.
That is what has led to this, really, in essence. And people showed up today and say they tell them you have to go to your constituency. So if you showed up in Accra, your constituency is in Kumasi, you have to travel to Kumasi to go and vote, which is practically impossible. The NDC is quite not happy with that. We're waiting to see if we can get to speak to some other political representatives, particularly the MPP also, but also our correspondents across the country. Now, another thing to observe, though, is that this issue came up when the presidential candidates met the Electoral Commission chairperson and other dignitaries and monitors. And what we know now is that there was unanimity, really, among all the presidential candidates that something had gone horribly wrong today with the system. And that it flows from there that the Electoral Commission issues a statement subsequently saying it had come up, we discussed it, we accept there's a problem, we are calling for you to remain calm, but we're going to also make sure that you get opportunity to vote. But that leaves a huge question mark. The question is when.
Unfortunately, they themselves are not giving us more information regarding their own their own press statement.
Yeah.
For us to know our way clear how we are approaching this particular danger that for so many people they think that they may not be able to take part in this year's election if the Electoral Commission were able to roll out what can address the very concern that everybody is talking about right now. If you go through our test console, everybody is talking about people are sharing their own personal experiences, the fact that they traveled from their station to another station, they were unable to vote because communication was not properly done for that reason. They are left in a state of a limbo. They don't know what is going to happen to them, whether they will be given the opportunity tomorrow or the next day or on the 7th. That information must come. I think the Electoral Commission owes the people of Ghana that right to tell them how they intend to deal with this particular, because at this stage, their word is more important than any other person as far as the election is concerned.
Yeah, and for those who are now anxious about what is going to happen, they need to hear from the Electoral Commission. We'll be speaking to Kamala Dom very shortly. He's been to Domi Kwabenya. He's just returned with some very interesting views to this. Also, we'll be shortly be speaking to some of our correspondents now in other parts of the country to give us a sense of what has happened now that the polls have ended 20 minutes ago. Plus, we'll also be bringing you the very latest. In fact, we know now, as far as the elections are concerned, today there was a press conference also by Let My Vote Count Alliance alleging that they had confiscated an Electoral Commission jute bag from an NDC chairperson. We know that they had proceeded to file a police report. Our correspondent, Joseph Akable, had been attached to them and had traveled with them to the police station. He will join us also in this hour to give us an update on that also. I can see that a lot more people are joining us.
Coming in thick and fast.
With their views on experiences, personal experiences
Exactly.
with the challenges we are talking about on special voting.
Well, Evans, this person is saying that our names were deleted from the first day the court ruled that some names should be deleted. We should not be surprised. 7th December, the same thing will happen again. Let's start planning and stop explaining. And somebody also saying that I submitted my voter ID for transfer of votes and was told to go back to my former station to vote. I came to Accra all the way from Doma in the Brona-Ahafo region, and I've been told to go back to Doma to vote. Now he's saying that I don't know whether I will vote tomorrow or the 7th, even though I've been told to get to my base at the Sunyani Regional Police Headquarters for deployment on Sunday.
Well, that's a key challenge. Let's go to Upper West Regional. Let's speak to Rafiq Salam, who's standing by, a man on the ground, supervising our correspondents, a team of correspondents in the Upper West. Rafiq, are polls closed where you are?
Polls, I must say, it's yet to close because we still have less than a dozen of people at the queue talking about the West Central constituency. Remember, 888 people are expected to cast their ballots here, and as we speak to you now, about 483 people so far have cast their ballots.
I see. And what about the challenges that we've had today? How were they resolved?
The challenges are still with us. We talk about an earlier register, which the parties or some of the security agencies claimed that they had until this morning, during the wee hours of the morning, when another list was brought in. But for now, the challenge seems to be a little bit over, because a majority of the people here are not around, even though they were peep, and some were even threatening that on polling they are not likely going to ensure security for the various polling stations. Now, somehow it has died down, but they are still swearing fire and brimstone that they will not be up here on polling day. But right now we have the presiding officer for this polling station, the person of Idris, third man. He will tell us, he will take us through what happened. Thank you very much. Welcome to Joy News.
You're most welcome.
Okay, let's talk about the process so far today. How was it?
Yes, generally it was hectic, especially at the early hours. But currently, it's like tensions have died down, and then the process is gradually coming to an end.
So let's talk about the number of people, 888 people that you were expected to cast their ballot. Now we've gotten about 490 people who are supposed to cast their ballot. What about the challenges? Are you able to solve the challenges?
Well, we have reported to our regional directorate accordingly, and then we are still hoping for a response. If not today, we know that generally elections can be adjourned. So maybe they may look into the issues that we had earlier in the morning. If there is a need to rectify them before the 7th, well, so be it.
And so you've heard the voice of Adam Idris Stedman, who is the presiding officer for this particular constituency, and then who presided over this right here. And I can tell you that the last 2 people are about to cast their ballot right in this constituency.
Okay, so that's Rafiq Salam. Rafiq, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that update. And so the key thing he says there, and if you listen to the presiding member saying to us that they have written formally now to their EC chiefs, notifying them, alerting them of this problem that they faced, and that polls can be adjourned. The question is whether the EC will exercise that right and to adjourn the polls, allowing people to cast their ballots. It's something that we need to pay attention to. We're also trying to see if we can get an electoral commission at the headquarters, because that's where the decision will be taken whether or not to adjourn the polls. And we know that the EC itself has been very busy today trying to get the other presidential candidates to commit to a peaceful poll, but also meeting them at a dialogue, explaining to them the processes so far, why they chose to put this very important event on the day when there's special elections is anybody's guess. But it's obvious now they are needed urgently to take a firm decision as soon as possible on how they are going to get the people who have been disenfranchised today to get an opportunity to vote. And clearly, because the chairperson herself was involved in that meeting, it's possible that is the reason why it's become impossible to get an EC to be a bit more clear on how exactly they plan to get these people who can't find their names on the list to go ahead and vote, because they've committed to do that. The question is when and how. Thank you, Rafiq. We're still going to go to one of the areas across the country to get you the very latest. Who do we have on the telephone line? Kwame Yanka joins us right now from Tema. Hello, Kwame.
Yeah, Evans.
Kwame, so what's the situation where you are 27 minutes after polls closed?
Yes, well, currently I am at the Ashaman District Police Headquarters, where the Ashaman constituency for the special voting is taking place. Now, it has been, let's say, incident-free, but the issue of missing names across the country seems to be the case here. Now, as at 5 p.m., you have about 486 people who have cast their votes, and you have a number of them too in the queue as I speak. In fact, I'm sure it will take about an hour more or an hour and probably more to be able to exhaust those in the queue, and that's the situation here at the moment.
I see. More than an hour more. That takes us well into 6 p.m., almost close to 7.
Certainly, Evans.
Wow. But you've been there all day. How many people know we're supposed to vote at this particular polling station?
Well, for the Ashaman constituency, 933 people are expected to cast their ballot today.
And had there been any challenge with the system? Because I'm pretty curious to find out why 900 people, and we're still 28 minutes after polls close, and we still have a long queue that possibly could last an hour plus.
Well, you have, let's say, the list provided, but then you'd have people who would come in, join the queue, only to find out that, well, their names are missing, or they're probably not to vote here, but to join probably another constituency to do that. So the queue could be winding right from the morning, but then it gets to the person's turn, and he or she gets to know that, well, I may not get a chance to vote today due to where I am, because I've been asked to go back to my hometown or where I was transferred from, just to be able to exercise to partake in this exercise.
And I'm curious to know how the electoral officers where you are have attempted to resolve this particular problem.
Well, yes, they tried as much as they can to explain to these security personnel and other anyone who is supposed to take part in this exercise. I must say, when he or she does not find his name or her name in the list, because it's quite challenging that the whole district commander would get there and find out, well, his name is not in, a district crime officer will get there or find out, well, he also doesn't have his name in there as well, and just have to tell that, well, I have to go back to where you were transferred from, though you are Kwashaman, but then you were said in under constituency, and that's where you have to exercise this. And those who can make it back to wherever they were said, have to do that today. Otherwise, on the 7th where they're deployed or will be on duty, may not be able to exercise this franchise.
Kwame, thank you very much. That's from the constituency in Tema there reporting for us. We'll be going to Kumasi very shortly, also getting reactions from the political parties. Albert Sorry is in the Upper East region, joins us on the telephone line. Albert, which constituency are you in?
I'm at Bolga Central.
The Bolga Central. What's happening there 30 minutes after polls closed?
Yes, everything is over now. The process has been generally smooth, except for what happened earlier in the day, where a bit of confusion broke out at the polling station because some police recruits from the Palogo Police Training School in the Talented District came to vote as special voters. And to this, the MPP regional executives and executives of the other opposition parties raised objections. It held the voting process, stalled the voting process for almost 30 minutes because they were insisting that these people are not security officials who will be working on the day of the election, and so they didn't understand why they had been brought there to vote. And also considering the fact that the Palogo Training School, where these police recruits were coming from, is in the Talented District, and so there was no reason for them to have been brought to the Bolga Central constituency to vote. And eventually the issue was resolved, and some of the police recruits who came there had to leave because later I spoke to the EC officials who said that those who were made to leave, they have their names in the register, and so that's why they had to be asked to go, and that brought calm back to the place. But for now, everything is over.
Okay, Albert, thank you very much. And just by way of recapping quickly, the headliner today has been a day of challenges plaguing the special voting. Only 127,000 people were supposed to vote today, and yet, for some reason, it's been a pretty difficult day for the Electoral Commission. Many people have found out that their names are not on the list for whatever reason. The Electoral Commission issued a statement earlier. I want to share with you quickly. And then the Electoral Commission, it says, the Electoral Commission, quote, wishes to assure members of the security agencies and the general public that we are fully aware of the challenges that some of them are facing at the various polling stations with the special voters list. This was discussed with the presidential candidates and their running mates this morning at the presidential dialogue organized by the Commission on the Elections, held at Bevan Peak Ambassador Hotel in Accra. The Commission is working with the hierarchy of the security agencies to resolve the challenge as soon as possible. We urge the security personnel affected to remain calm. Appropriate arrangements will be made for them all to vote in this year's elections. Key question coming in from those listening to us and sharing views with us is they want to know when will the Electoral Commission make these arrangements for them to vote. Also because they are going to be posted and deployed to the various places where they're going to be operating on election day. Some of them are leaving tomorrow, others are leaving on Saturday and Sunday, and so time is of the essence as far as that is concerned. And we will be obviously across other parts of the country. But right now, I can connect you to my colleague, Mr. Bagba, who joins us in the studio. You've been, Maxwell. You've been to what constituency were you in?
Ladadikotopon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me assume from the start that it wasn't different because we've had the situation of people can't find their names. Is it the same there?
It was the same thing there. So in the Ladadikotopon constituency where I visited, 3,330 special voters are expected to cast their ballot on that constituency. 3,330. The polling stations in that constituency are 4. So we have one at the Cantonment Barracks A polling station, and then we have the Cantonment Barracks B polling station, and then we have the Burma Hall C, and then the Burma Hall D. So these 4 polling stations are where the 3,330 special voters are expected to show up to cast their ballot. Now, when I spoke to the presiding officer there, he tells me that about 20 people, as at the time that we were there, that was just around like 1 p.m., 20 people showed up and they didn't see their names on the electoral roll. So they were referred to another constituency. They went there also and they didn't see their name. So for those are the rare of the long winding queue there. A lot of them, with the benefit of hindsight, throw their hands in the spin.
Yeah, of course. Okay. I mean, if you are in the queue,
exactly,
and those ahead of you get there and they say
you can't find your name,
go elsewhere.
Then
you know, naturally anxiety will set in.
Exactly.
You're wondering whether you should waste your time in the queue only to find out
that your name is
you should leave or you should go and find out. And that could be recipe for some tension.
Yeah. So for a lot of them, what they were suggesting at that polling station was that a special list could have been created so that people can cross-check. So, for instance, those at the rear of the queue can come forward and cross-check to see if their names are on the list. If their names are on the list, then they can get back to their rightful positions and then wait for their turn before they cast their ballots. But for a lot of them, sometimes they stand in the queue for a very long time, but they get there, they do not find their names on the electoral roll. I had interactions with the incumbent member of parliament for that constituency, Niamasa Namwale. He brought some food to his polling agents there. I asked him to speak to the issue about some people not finding their names on the roll, and he says he cannot speak to it. He says it's the job of the Electoral Commission. I was like, you should be perturbed about this because some of them possibly could be your supporters. He says, no, I cannot speak to it, and would allow the EC officials to speak directly to
what the EC officials say?
Well, the EC official also referred me to the Electoral Commissioners. He says
at the headquarters.
The headquarters. He says he's not in a position to explain why those names are not on the electoral roll. So we should speak to the guys at the headquarters itself.
Well, the Electoral Commission itself issued a statement. They didn't say much in the statement. They didn't tell us how come names were not found on the list. Only to call for calm, only to accept that there's a problem, only to commit to allowing people to vote. But again, leaving a huge gap there. And so everybody's asking questions. And if you listen to what we heard from Hashwin Tamale in the Northern region, even the EC officials there are also now formally writing to the EC headquarters of the crime, say, give us direction. And the whole country is waiting for direction from the Electoral Commission as of now. I mean, clearly coming out with what steps they are going to take, when and how, you know, how long that's going to take between now and when the people are deployed to get them to vote. It's one of the most important things you're waiting for the EC to say. Maybe it might come in a statement, we don't know, but so far it's ended. It's what, 37 minutes after polls ended?
And let me just
and there's radio silence from the Electoral Commission.
So let me just add up, from around the time that we're leaving that constituency, it was just around 2 p.m. and 567 special voters have been able to cast their ballot at that polling station.
Hold your horses for me, Maxwell, because I've just been joined by the General Secretary of the People's National Convention. Their presidential candidate was part of the meeting today with the Electoral Commission, the Mervyn Pig, where we understand that this issue of the names not found on the list was discussed. Mr. Mohammed, thank you for your time here on your election headquarters. Let me ask you, what have you been told by the Electoral Commission? Because I know you have your own channels of communication with the EC. Have they told you anything beyond the statement they issued to the public, which really says nothing apart from saying that there's a problem and people should keep calm?
Well, thank you very much, Evans, and let me say good evening to your listeners. The truth is that beyond that which they have issued, we are not privy to any information that suggests that some concrete action has been taken or is about to be taken regarding correcting these anomalies we witnessed from morning up till now. And so what we know is that the Electoral Commission has not had any concrete response to the problems or challenges we have encountered or the voters have encountered since morning. And so the press release that was issued, beyond, like you said, giving assurance which we do not even know what that constitutes. They have not said anything in concrete terms regarding how they are resolving these very issues we all know about.
So you are in the dark, just like everybody else?
Yes, and just before I spoke with you, I received a call from the Deputy Communications Director of the Electoral Commission saying that it is been instructed to invite us to an emergency IPAC meeting at 6:30 this evening. It is my hope that at this meeting, these very concerns we all are aware of and are grappling with will be discussed with a view to finding some solution to them.
Okay, so just to clarify, the Electoral Commission has summoned an emergency IPAC meeting at 6:30 p.m. tonight.
That is correct.
At which, what will be discussed? Did they tell you what the agenda is?
Well, the Deputy Communication Director fell short of telling me the specific items on the agenda. But my suspicion is that it will relate to the concerns and challenges regarding the special voting today. Because I do not see any other issue more pressing than that particular issue, for which reason an emergency IPAC meeting will be summoned. So my suspicion and my expectation is that they will table the challenges that have come to them, and I'm sure we'll also be given the opportunity to share the challenges we have witnessed and recorded, so that they will tell us how they are responding to them, and together we can move forward. Because if this is the rehearsals that we are doing as a way of warming ourselves into the elections of 7th December, I think that we have every reason to be worried, because these issues that are coming up are not very pleasant, and they only go to expose how ill-prepared the Electoral Commission and everybody else is regarding the 7th December general election.
I mean, I think I have been involved in elections, covering it for more than a decade now. Have you seen anything on this scale for special early voting?
This is the first time I am getting to know, and this is the first time I'm experiencing special voting not going as well as everybody would expect. To the extent that people go to the polling centers and they are told their names cannot be found. Some go there and they are told they should go back to their constituencies at the time they can make the journey, and so on and so forth. So it tells you generally the preparation hasn't been solid.
No, but this is the Electoral Commission that had constantly said they are ready. It's going to be the best elections ever, just to quote the Electoral Commission chairperson, the best elections ever anywhere on the continent when they did the rebranding.
That is a paradox. That is a paradox. They keep telling us that every time that they are prepared and that they all is set for a successful election 2016. But you see, I have made this point, and I'll repeat it again, that instead of the Electoral Commission applying itself to the very fundamental requirements of the process, it for the most part concerns itself with incidental issues and issues that are needlessly controversial, so that they take their eyes off the bigger ball and concentrate on things that don't bring, that do not help the conduct of this year's election. And that is why I think we have landed ourselves into this ditch. If the Electoral Commission were to stay focused, if the Electoral Commission were to focus on that which matters, I'm sure we would have avoided all of this. Because to the extent that there was mixed and confused communication regarding how this voting is going to be done, I think that it only tells that the Electoral Commission was ill prepared. That you can vote anywhere you are, insofar as your name is on the special voters list. Only to counter that earlier communication with another one saying that you must go to your original constituency where you registered. And some of these voters got this information at a time they could not embark on any journey. And the difficulty I am having, and I'm sure it is so with all others who care about this process, is that the names and the barcodes of these individuals whose names are on the special voters list have been deactivated on the main register. What that technically speaking means is that on the day of election, they can't vote either. So if you are unable to cast your ballot today because of the mistakes of the Electoral Commission or their miscommunication, it means on the day of election also, you cannot vote because your barcode, according to the Electoral Commission, would have been deactivated on the main register. So what have you done to these voters that for no fault of theirs, we disenfranchise them? And this could be grounds for very serious troubles on the December. And that is where my fear and anxiety stem from. I only hope that this meeting, and you see, Evans, hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, Evans, another difficulty that arises from the concerns or challenges of today is that if you are unable to vote today, the Electoral Commission cannot say for those on the special voters list who are unable to vote today, you can vote tomorrow, because that would have been in contravention of the CI 94. It says that the special voting must be done 7 days to the elections. So tomorrow would have been acting outside the confines of this very provision. And that would have amounted to some illegality. So the Electoral Commission legally cannot ask those on the special voters list to vote tomorrow.
Wow.
And since their names have been deactivated also on the main register, on the main election day, they cannot vote. So why? I mean, these are very serious issues that require urgent responses. And I only hope that the Electoral Commission will have some satisfying, I'm not even looking for satisfying responses, but some satisfying responses to these concerns and challenges that we all are faced with today.
I think, Mohammed, kindly hold the line for me very briefly, because I want to quickly bring in our correspondent from the Eastern region. There's something I want you to respond for me quickly. Kofi Sian joins us on the line. Hello, Kofi.
Hello, Evan.
Kofi, what's happening where you are?
Well, voting has ended here at the Galloway Canteen polling station. It's on the premises of the regional police headquarters, and there was some confusion here some few minutes ago. The PNC candidate here in New Javan South said he presented actually some pieces of cloth as his seal, and he insisted that he put it on the ballot box, but the EC officers were resisting him. But eventually they agreed, and he put the seal on the ballot box. And he's here with me. I want to speak to him for him to share his view on what happened some few minutes ago. Nana Obade Opambo Boatin Bonsu. Good evening.
Good evening.
What's really your problem? Isn't it odd to see or to bring pieces of cloth as your seal?
Yeah, well, you think it's a piece of cloth, but then it's a thread. And then when you talk about seal, everything that is very tight just to prevent from being from open is still. So, party allow you to be allowed with seal. This because with me, it was the race. This is my time, and I know I'm for winning. I'm giving my people to prevent from being voted. If we're not in, or if the election is insecure, it's believe. So this is why that we to appeal to anybody at all. Well, it's first and if you want to you can, because it's still that can be protected. Feel like that that's the way. There's a discussion on the track. You get it, but then I'm so surprised that the electoral commissioner for this kind of election never brought people with level-headed, because at the end of the day, those that they were fronting this kind of thing. I was so surprised. insulted me in a way, but I'm protecting my ballot.
And did your party provide you with a say? I know they did not, but do you think this is good enough? I mean, it's surprising.
Well,
Everybody is surprised here.
Well, whether good or not, that is why each and everyone there's a history. This field, whether they like it or not, I try to provide padlocks and that. During the olden days that we started, it was a padlock. Now they try to bring all these things. I have a trade, and the trade have a security system that I use it on it. So if you like, go and just share it. It's your own problem.
Okay, thank you very much. Evans.
What was agreed at IPAC? Let me bring in Atik Mohammed. Atik, in terms of the seals, now that the polls have ended, what is the procedure as you know it?
Well, what I do know, and let me quickly say that the party is in the process of distributing these seals to all our candidates. Some have had, some are yet to receive their seals. So it is unfortunate. I actually spoke with Obadia this afternoon, and he raised concern about he still not receiving his seals from the party. Hello?
I can hear you.
Yes, he was complaining about not having received his seals yet. So I assured him they were on their way to his constituency because we are giving them according to the number of polling stations we have. Unfortunately, he had not received his before today's event. Nonetheless, when he raised the concern, he said he could get the padlock to add to the seals that the other political parties are using, and that the electoral officer was resistant. And he told him, whatever the case is, he has to have a seal of some sort to indicate that he also has secured the ballot, so that if it is tampered with, he's able to tell. And so he suggested that which you have just heard. But the point is, it is the political parties that procure these seals for their agents or poll watchers, so that they can, after the balloting or the voting has ended, they can use those seals to lock up the ballot boxes, so that if these seals are tampered with, you can easily tell. And so we are in the process of sending these seals against the major event on the 7th of December. But I do not see why people would want to resist an attempt by, it's actually a parliamentary candidate for New Jabe. I cannot understand why the Electoral Commission would say that, as per our understanding of seal, it should be some particular kind of seal. And so if you are bringing your own seal, which we think does not qualify to be a seal, we will not accept it. A seal is a seal. It is defined as anything that you can use to protect the credibility of the ballot after voting is done. So I do not think that it was proper for them to have resisted, and to the extent of even attempting to assault him and so on and so forth. But nonetheless, on the main election day, he shall have the same seals as everybody else has. And I'm sure we will not have a repetition of this particular incident. But this also tells us that the electoral officers must begin to appreciate that these parliamentary candidates and indeed our agents are supposed to be partners and not adversaries. So if you have a disagreement with them, it is improper for you to go as far as assaulting or even insulting them. It is not proper, and it does not help in achieving a smooth process. But of course, these are things that for me are all indicating that as far as the preparedness of all shareholders regarding this year's election is concerned, a whole lot is left to be desired.
Yeah.
And particularly the Electoral Commission.
Yeah.
There are so many issues that, for me, if care is not taken, the way we are seeing them today, I just have this premonition that we may not be able to resolve them adequately enough
before
to be able to answer
week,
the challenges that we experienced on the 7th of December.
And I know you're on your way to that emergency IPAC meeting in a little over 30 minutes. So I'll let you go to that meeting. We'll check on you again once that is done. Thank you, Atik Mohammed, with the PNC. He's the General Secretary with the PNC there. So if you just join us on Joy 99.7 FM, also on the Joy News channel here on Multi TV, the breaking news tonight is that the Electoral Commission has called an emergency IPAC meeting tonight at 6:30 p.m. And the agenda is not clear yet, but from what we're hearing, it's going to be centered on what to do in the wake of the challenges that we've seen bedevil the early special voting today, particularly with regards to those who could not find their names on the voters register and those who were asked to return to their constituencies, of course, because of the communication gap that was there had no clue that was the procedure to follow. The Electoral Commission will then, tonight, at the 6:30 p.m. IPAC meeting with the parties, need to find some common ground with the parties on what to do to get all these individuals. And from what we hear, a pretty significant number of people would have been disenfranchised today if nothing is done. They have to find a way of getting these individuals, who, by the way, are going to be deployed tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, somehow get them to vote. It's going to be a pretty interesting IPAC meeting for sure. And Elting was with me on this. And Atik mentioned something. I know you followed the new electoral regulations very closely in Parliament. He mentions a very important point, that the new law says the special voting must be held 7 days before the elections, correct? Now, even if they meet tonight and there's a consensus that we should give them an opportunity to vote, and you do it tomorrow, it will be a violation of the law.
It will be, and it will not be the first time the Electoral Commission will be violating the content of CI 94 and CI 91.
I see.
CI 91 deals with the registration process. CI 94 is the regulation governing the conduct of the elections. Remember that, for example, in CI 91, it says that the political parties must be given certified copies of the voters' register 121 days before the election. We all know when they were given the voters' register.
True.
So if at this IPAC meeting, I know by now the Electoral Commission, they have their own plan going forward.
Yeah, they're going to make a proposal.
Exactly.
And see if the parties will accept.
IPAC has no legal backing to reject the proposal of the Electoral Commission. But to ensure peace and harmony going into the election, they need to put this before the political parties, get them to accept their proposal, and then roll it out. That is the more reason why they are meeting them. But relating to 7 days before the election, that's what CI 91.
The law is set in stone.
Says, I mean, of course.
Yeah.
At this stage, somebody, if the Electoral Commission
goes ahead and says tomorrow, somebody can go
to court and get the process stopped. But we may have to look at the spirit
and the letter of the law. That is an interesting conundrum, and we must say that this has been the EC's own creation. The problem we are witnessing had been created by the EC
because
themselves.
They had their own program, and 2 days
you decided to change it. Leaves you little time to communicate.
And you didn't communicate.
And
Look at this text message, Evans. Someone says, "I'm working as a temporary EC officer at the district I'm working. My name is not in the special list. Now, I was asked to go to my constituency. I traveled there, and there my name was missing in action." This is from Kwaku and Son of Begro. And he says that I will vote on the 7th of December before going to where I've been assigned to.
Yeah, and the risk with that
it will delay the electoral process.
Absolutely. But also, this is an electoral officer?
This is a temporary electoral officer.
So even the EC officers are affected. Even the EC officers themselves are affected. I mean, how bad can it get? I mean, and it beats my imagination, because what is going to happen essentially at this emergency IPAC meeting that we now know is going to happen at 6:30, essentially is there's a legal challenge for them to
somebody can take them on, and
even if they decide that, okay, let's get them to vote on election day proper, all those who've been disenfranchised, so they get them to vote on election day, which the law will allow. How will that affect security for the election? So you have the security officer who must be deployed to a certain location, unable to go because he has to vote in another location. Now, I'm wondering whether in this IPAC meeting they'll have the top hierarchy of either the military and the police, because then possibly an agreement can be reached that we deploy people to where they are registered to vote. Those who could not find their names on the list. In other words, so if Elting could not find his name on the list today, let's find his name, let's see where he registered, and then simply deploy him to that location.
Exactly.
So he gets there, he votes, and still continues doing his job. That could be a way out. I don't know. But I'm wondering whether the security agencies will be invited to this IPAC meeting tonight, which is absolutely crucial because they deal in hierarchy and ranks and all this has to come from a setting. So it will be interesting. And our correspondents and reporters have already been dispatched to the EC headquarters. We're going to bring you the very latest on that. We're going to stay on that beat and bring you how this emergency IPAC meeting unfolds. And remember why this is important. 127,000 people.
394.
You know,
127,394
people are supposed to vote today. That number alone could be the difference between a win and a defeat on December 7th. It can decide who becomes the president. Remember, in 2012, the margin between the victor and the MPP who lost was a little over 44,000 votes. That's times 3 is what we are talking about who will be voting today.
And from the calculations some people have done, this 127,394 is a little over 1% of the entire voter population computing into the overall outcome.
Yeah. And when you have an electoral system that says 50% plus 1, you see why today's voting and the process is absolutely crucial. And why the Electoral Commission will call an emergency IPAC meeting at 6:30 p.m.
Tells you the position of the Electoral
Yes,
Commission.
it tells you this is pretty urgent, almost at a crisis point, really. It has to be resolved tonight. It explains why the EC has been quiet and unable to speak to us. And just simply put out a statement nobody knew about. We've been trying to communicate what we have, but questions coming from listeners, those affected, we haven't been able to provide answers. The EC needs to meet with the parties before they can come out publicly to say, this is what we've agreed and this is what must happen tomorrow. And now, so we are in for a very long night.
A very long night. Evans, you see, and I'm also thinking through and coming to the conclusion that it is not just going to be about how we are going to ensure that these guys are not disenfranchised. The other key matter is about the barcode. The fact that you've placed some people under a special voting list. What then happens to such names on the general voters register that will be used on December 7th?
That's true. Yes.
So
it renders my suggestion incompetent. In other words, if your name is on a special voters list, the understanding is that it cannot be on the general voters list. So even if you want them to vote on December 7th, you have to find a way
of getting it onto the voters register.
That in itself is going to be a challenge, you know, because you're dealing with almost 200,000 names that you have to transfer.
You have to transfer,
you know, onto the list, and with all the suspicion from the other political parties, for the very first time in a long while, we had the NDC today tell us on election headquarters that they are going to protest. What is happening today, you know, and it came from
because it's a secret ballot.
Absolutely,
you may never know which direction that it is going.
Exactly.
So you need to protect every ballot.
You know, and we had the director of elections of the NDC saying, for the very first time in a long while, say they are going to strongly protest against what is happening today. And he even at a point, the EC had issued a statement an hour before we spoke to him. He had no idea what the EC was saying, what they were going to do about this. And so this IPAC meeting is going to be interesting.
And this is very interesting. The text is saying that we are over 200 immigration officers who were not allowed to vote. Even though our names were in the special voting list to vote at Denu police station, we were told to go to our various former stations where we registered to vote. We are now at Aflao, about to board a vehicle to Laura in the Upper West region. We have been told again to come to our duty post on Sunday for deployment.
Wow. And his is on Sunday. We know others are going to be deployed on Saturday. So that's a challenge. Yelting will stay with us because we are going to continue this coverage. We have a long night ahead because if you're just joining us, the breaking news this evening is that the Electoral Commission has called for an emergency IPAC meeting at 6:30 p.m. just a little over 29 minutes from now, with all the political stakeholders, at which meeting we are expecting that a decision will be reached on what to do about the people, the huge numbers we are told, who could not find their names on the special voters list and therefore could not vote today. We've dispatched our correspondents and reporters already to the EC headquarters, where we will bring you the very latest. Once a decision is reached, we will get it here first, here on your election headquarters. My name is Evans Mensah. Israel Lai is next, and our special coverage continues right here on your election headquarters, Joy 99.7 FM and the Joy News Channel. Stay with us.